to pursue the wealth.
All right, guys, welcome back to another episode of the Pursuit of Wealth podcast. Today, I am doing a solo podcast, and I brought out the trusty whiteboard. So if you're just listening to the audio, I'm going to do my best to kind of explain everything that I have going on in this visual that I want to create. And you can also check us out on like Spotify or YouTube if you want to like watch, because we're going to throw some B-roll over what I draw as I explain it. But let's go ahead and dive into it. So today we're going to talk about opportunities and really kind of like understanding opportunity cost. As an entrepreneur, this is something that I've really struggled with. I'm kind of like a visionary. And so like my toxic trait is like, I see what could be possible if I did something. And then it can cause you to want to do a lot of things. And so one thing that I've struggled with is like, what is the opportunity cost if I do pursue X thing? Because everybody only has so much time in a day. And if you're pulling your attention from one thing to put it into another thing, there's an opportunity cost that you're losing out on if you would have had your attention in just focus on your first thing. So if you're debating whether or not you want to pursue another activity, just understand that there's always an opportunity cost for you to do that. But I also want to get into like, aside from that, just because you can do something doesn't mean you should do something. Just because you could be a good realtor doesn't mean you should be a good realtor. Just because you understand numbers or like math or like interest rates and stuff doesn't mean you should go be a lender. Just because you can doesn't mean you should. And this is something that I've kind of really realized over the last few years, because there's a lot of things that I think I could do or I could be really good at, but it's like, should I do that? And the way I look at this now is I'm going to draw this here. Let's draw this beautiful triangle. And no, this is not a pyramid, and I'm not going to talk about a pyramid scheme. This is my drawing of an iceberg. So the way I want to think about this is let's layer this iceberg real quick. So on the bottom level here, you're going to have your purpose, your passions, and then your principles. And I'm going to say principles/values. That is your core foundation. When you're making decisions, it should be like, does this align with your purpose, your passion, or your principles and values? Then you have your priorities. Is this going to align with the priorities that you have, or the things that you want to prioritize in your life? Then on the next level, we have productivity. Are you okay with the activities that are going to be required in this new opportunity or venture that you want to pursue or business? And at the very top, we have profit. Okay. Now, this sounds super simple. It's like, well, yeah, when making a decision, you should always make sure first that it aligns with your purpose, your passions, or your principles and values. Then, like, can you make the things that are going to be necessary, can you make those a priority? Are you okay with the actions that are going to be required to make this new venture or business idea successful? And at the very end, we always hope for profit. Like at the end of the day, if you're going or considering going into a new opportunity, there's got to be some reward. Like everybody, if it's a business venture, majority of the time you're hoping to just turn a profit with that venture. And if you're leaving another activity or venture, it's in pursuit usually of a higher return, higher profit if you go this route. Now, the problem is a lot of people don't think of it this way. A lot of people just look at the top and think, hey, if I can make more money doing that, I should go try to do that. Well, it's like you're never seeing 90% of what it takes to make this successful. The problem is with an iceberg, 90% of the iceberg is hidden under the ocean. Okay? And social media everybody is, when you're looking at social media, this is us here. Yay, we're on a boat, we're floating in the ocean, scrolling through social media, and all you can see on social media is the top of this iceberg. You see a little bit of the productivity level. You see a little bit of what people do. But the majority of what you see is like the outcome that they're getting. You see the profit, the flashy cars, the big houses, the watches, the crazy social events. You see this, the top of the iceberg. And you're like, man, this looks a lot more fun. I should go try to do this. Oh man, Kyle's crushing it with videography. I should go get into videography. Oh man, this person's crushing it with summer sales, door-to-door sales. I don't really, I haven't sold that many houses in real estate this year. Maybe I should just go do door-to-door sales. The problem is, like, you can make good money doing anything. You can make really good money if you stuck out real estate and you learned to sell better and you focused on that activity. You can make really good money. You can make really good money selling cars. If you want to go sell cars and put in the time to learn that activity, that trade, you can make really good money doing door-to-door sales. We've had a lot of door-to-door sales guys on this podcast. Like, you can make good money doing that, whether it's selling pest control, selling solar. There's just so many options out there. And never before have we been able to see all the different options and see the top of the iceberg from people being successful in all these different fields like we have today because of social media, which isn't a bad thing. I think it's a great thing. I think it helps open people's eyes to a lot of opportunities out there. But the problem is we see so many opportunities that it's hard to decide, like, what do you pursue and what don't you pursue? So let's talk about that. We got to dive under the water so we can see the full iceberg. And this should be kind of your decision-making metrics when you're deciding whether you should pivot in your career, whether you should take on something new. You got to start at the core foundation of the iceberg. And that's asking yourself, does this new venture, business opportunity, whatever it is that I'm looking at, does it align with my purpose? And if you haven't decided, like, what is your purpose, like, define what is your purpose. What are you trying to do? What are you trying to obtain in your life? What are you trying to achieve? What is your purpose? Does it align with your passions? Are you super jazzed about whatever this opportunity is? Would you be willing to do it for free? Are you that excited about it? Do you love it? Because that's a big thing you should focus on. You shouldn't just be going after a new opportunity because you think it can make you more money. You should be passionate about it. Because there's a lot of layers before you get to the profit. And if you're not passionate, or it doesn't align with your purpose, or it doesn't align with your values as a human, it's going to be really hard to get to the top and turn a profit or make this successful if it doesn't align with this bottom. You don't have the foundation of the iceberg. So you got to start there. Does it align with those values? And then priorities. Is this new venture going to allow you to have the priorities that you want to keep top of mind? And these priorities could be like, family time. It could be fitness. It could be health. Location. Does it allow you to live where you want to live? Like the important things, like what are the things that you prioritize, and is this going to affect your current priorities? I think of let's take real estate for example, because that's something I do. It's well known. A lot of people could look at real estate agents and be like, man, real estate agents can make a lot of money. And it's like, well, you're only seeing the top of the iceberg here. If you're going to sign up to be a real estate agent, you're going to have to make sure that you can align your priorities, and you're going to have to be okay with not being home every night for dinner, because majority of people don't get off work till 5 or 6. Then they're going to want to go see houses. So you might miss a lot of weeknight dinners. You might work on the weekends. People usually have, Friday, Saturday, Sunday off, which means they're going to want to see houses on Friday, Saturday, Sundays. So you could kiss your weekends goodbye. You might be doing open houses when you start out as an agent. You might have to do an open house every Saturday. And so does that align with your priorities? If you're like, no, dude, I want to be home every night at 6:00 for dinner with my family. That's a priority of mine. That's important to me. No, I want to have my Saturdays with my family. That's my priorities. That's important to me. Well, then you should stop right there and realize that, hey, my priorities don't align with this activity. I prioritize this, and being a real estate agent does not align with those priorities that I have. You should probably just stop there and decide, like, this isn't the opportunity for me. It's the same thing with, I look at, let's say, summer sales. Yeah, a lot of people can see, like, dude, these guys are driving Ferraris and, going on crazy exotic vacations and buying fancy clothes and watches, or and same thing with real estate. These guys are just making all this money. It's like, yeah, but when you go out to do summer sales, you're gone for 4 months. Are you okay missing the entire summer with your family to go sell? If that doesn't align with your priorities, then stop there. That's not the right opportunity for you. Like, we get so caught up in this end goal of profit that we forget to ask these first questions. Because I can promise, like, if you go do it and you could grind out a few years and stick it out, and maybe you do start making money, and like, it's not your end all be all, that's fine. But just know that, like, go through these, because you're going to be a lot happier if you do. You're going to be a lot happier sacrificing those summers if you're like, hey, I already went through this process. It does align with my current priorities. I'm going to do this for 4 or 5 years, and then I'm going to prioritize my summers with my family. That's totally fine. And you can make those changes. Like, for me, when I first got into real estate, I didn't have a family. So, like, I could, real estate life, it fit my priorities. But now it's like I've made some changes in my business because my priorities have shifted. And so I have my business shift a little bit. I couldn't do that starting out in real estate. I couldn't have the schedule I have now, or focus on the priorities I do now, if I was brand new in real estate. Because that first year, you've got to be willing to prioritize the client and their schedule and everything like that. Same thing with, like, almost any venture that you get into. It's going to require a lot more effort at the beginning. And so you got to make sure that the priorities are going to align with, or you're going to be able to keep your priorities. And then productivity. Check the activities, like, what is required, what kind of productivity is required to turn a profit in this industry. Let's go back to real estate. Like I said, are you going to be okay hosting open houses, working with a buyer for 4 to 6 months, working on a listing with a seller for multiple months, spending money, spending time without having any return? Are you going to be okay doing that? Do you have the financial backing to do that, to not make money for the first 60, 90, 180 days? And are you going to be okay essentially working for free in hopes that eventually that listing sells, eventually that buyer finds a house that they want, and they're motivated to put in an offer? Are you going to be okay waiting for that to come and then realizing the profit? If you're like, no, it would drive me nuts showing houses for 4 to 6 months without making any money and sacrificing time away from my family, like, I can't do that. Okay, then you're not going to be able to do the actions required to be successful in real estate. No, I couldn't knock doors. Let's talk about summer sales. I couldn't go knock doors for 4 months and knock doors like 100 doors a day and constantly be getting rejected and be able to stick that out. Like, I just can't. I couldn't do that. Okay, well, then you're not going to be able to do the things that are required to be successful in door-to-door sales, because that's what's required. You've got to be able to do deep down look at the activities that are required to be successful in this industry, whatever industry that you're looking at, and decide if you're going to be able to do those activities. And at the very top, if you do all these things and it does align with your priorities, and you are able to do the activities that it takes to be successful, and you're passionate about it, and it follows your values and your principles, then you will get to the profit. And then it'll be fun, and you'll be really good at it, and it's exciting. But if you don't go through these steps and you're not willing to do these things, you're not going to be successful in this industry. And that's what happens, is a lot of people just see the profit and they start going, they're like, yeah, they don't think about anything under the iceberg. They just see the fun and the excitement. They like, okay, I'm just going to go out and do summer sales because it looks like it's profitable. And then they go through and they're like, man, I'm not passionate about this. It doesn't really align with my values and purpose. I'm sacrificing a ton and I'm not able to focus on the things that I want to make a priority in my life. And I'm not willing to stick out the actions that it takes to be successful. And then they just end up not turning a profit or making any money. And then they quit. And then they look for the next thing to jump into. And they also don't do the research on that thing. And then they quit. And then they look for the next thing that looks fun and exciting. Oh, look, crypto trading, like day trading online. These guys are crushing it with crypto. Like, I'm just going to go do that. Well, what you don't know is like those guys have lost a ton of money in crypto before they ever started making money in crypto. They spend all day trading and they lose maybe 40% of the time and they win 60% of the time. And it's just that their wins outweigh their losses, but they go through an emotional roller coaster with their trading. Like, are you willing to stick that out? Like, most people don't. They just see the top level and they never take the time to jump out and swim and dive under the water and see what's hidden, because there's hidden costs to everything. There's no magic pill. There's no magic industry that's going to just be like so easy, that's going to give you everything you want and not require some form of sacrifice. Everything requires sacrifice. Even content creation. Content creation is tough. Like, you're sacrificing time to come up with creative ideas. You got to fork out money for equipment. Maybe unless you want to edit, you got to pay somebody to edit. Like, there's a lot of little things for it. And it's probably not going to do anything for you for several months. And so, like, are you willing to stick it out? The only way you're going to stick it out is like you're passionate about it, you enjoy it, if it aligns with your values, and you're able to still prioritize the things that you want to do, so like it doesn't like drain you too emotionally. And then eventually maybe you can stick it out and you'll see a profit. But you're not going to stick with things unless you go through this chart. For me, it was like, there's a lot of things that I've taken on and I've found certain people to help me in certain areas. And I focus on, like, if I'm going to take on an activity, I first look at what is my requirement in that activity. Usually I look at, like, there's usually three things that new opportunities need, or any opportunity really needs. You can either bring capital, money, you can fund an opportunity. You can either bring time, like you have time, personal capital. You can invest your time into that opportunity or business, or you bring influence. You can bring your influence into that business and help it grow through marketing and bringing in business, bringing in sales, essentially, for whatever business that is. If you're not willing to do one of those three things, you shouldn't take on the opportunity, because like it's either going to require your money, your time, or your influence to grow. And so for me now, like I focus on things that either require my influence or my capital. I try to stay away from things that are going to require my time, except for content. Content requires my time and my capital, and I don't really have any influence in in my content right now. But that's something that I have a long-term vision of how I want to grow that. And I'm willing to, it aligns with the values and it still gives me the certain priorities that I can do. And I'm willing to take the actions that it takes to make it successful. And so I've come to terms with, like, this is something I want to stick out. But everything else that I look at when I'm, property management or construction or anything else that we're doing, I usually like, can I only supply capital and some influence to try to drive sales, and not so much my personal time, because my personal time is like sacred to me now. But if you're just starting out, maybe all you have is time. You don't have money or influence, and that's okay. Can you invest your time into whatever this opportunity is? And if it's time, if it's a time requirement, you really need to go through this hierarchy here, because you'll become bitter if you haven't made sure that these other levels align with you and your priorities and your values in life. And this is something I've just been like thinking a lot on, and I'm gonna say like really passionate about, but like I've struggled with. And so I see so many people jump from thing to thing to thing, always just thinking that it's like the grass is greener. And it's like the grass is greener where you water it. And grass usually gets greener when there's a pile of shit under it. And so like dig up the shit and see what it is. And are you willing to put up with that shit? Because so many people are just naive and they just look at the top level things. And I'm like, sometimes like even with real estate, people jump into real estate all the time. And I'm like, I don't try to sugarcoat it. Like it's not easy. It can be very fun and exciting and rewarding, but it is not easy. Nothing is easy. I've done a bunch of different things. And one of my first ventures was like, I wanted to start a clothing company. And I lost a lot of money and it was not easy, but everybody on Instagram made it look really easy. And so, but I hadn't done my research. I hadn't gone through these different levels of questions and dug down to see like the 90% of the iceberg that I didn't know. All I looked at was like, man, the profit and somewhat of the actions that people were doing. You know, I looked at Christian Guzman and was like, man, Alpha Elite looks like it's crushing it. I could do that. I was very wrong, very wrong. And if I had taken the time to fully dive in and see what was all required to do and what sacrifices he had to make and everything that he had to go through to get to the level that he was at, I probably would have jumped up and been like, yeah, no, that's not for me. And that's okay. Just know that like, you don't have to pursue every opportunity. You need to find the opportunities that you enjoy, that align with what you want to do in life, and focus on those. And know that like you can make anything successful. I don't know that there's an industry or even activity that you couldn't monetize and make successful if you really put in the work and invested the time and you were passionate about it and you stuck it out. Like with today's day and age, the technology that we have, the internet, you could, I mean, people are making money like trading Pokemon cards and playing freaking Minecraft online and like just doing anything. And the reason they're profitable or make money at it is because they're passionate about it and they're willing to put in the hours, countless hours to do it. It's like, dude, being a video game, I don't know, what are they, video game influencers? Or I know these guys are crushing it. They're making a ton of money. I would love to do that. Well, I wouldn't love to do it. It sounds fun. I used to love playing Call of Duty and FIFA. And it's fun to think about like, oh man, dude, if I just got paid to play FIFA all day, that would be awesome. And then I play FIFA for a little bit and I'm like, after like an hour of playing, I'm bored and feel like I've wasted my day. Like it doesn't fulfill me. And if you really wanted to get good at that activity, good enough to be getting paid a high profit to do it, you'd have to play 12, 14 hours a day. And I'm just not willing to invest that kind of time and energy into doing that because it doesn't align with my values and what I want to do. And it doesn't align with the life I want to live. So I don't need to do it. And I don't even need to try to do it or even put any more thought into it. So when you're thinking about opportunities, think about these different levels of the iceberg and decide if it's actually something you want to do. And know that it's anything that you're looking at, it's going to take longer than you think to be successful at it. It's going to be way harder than you think to be successful at it. I've never seen an opportunity that was easier than I thought and was quicker than I thought to be successful at. Everything that I've ever done, it's taken longer and was a lot harder than I thought it was going to be up front. So take that for what it is. If you've got opportunities or you're struggling to decide if you should do something or shouldn't do something, I'm happy to be a sounding board for anybody out there. I try to keep my biases out of it. Just maybe help probe and ask questions and let you make some decisions, because that's what my life coach has done for me. And it's been super, super helpful to have a sounding board of somebody that doesn't bring in any of their personal biases and just lets me kind of make decisions. And so I'm opening that up to you. If you guys have things that you're struggling with or maybe an opportunity that you're looking at and you want a sounding board for it, shoot me a message and I'd be happy to be that person for you. So it's kind of a short one today, about 24, 25 minutes. If you guys have other topics or thoughts that you want us to try to cover on these solo podcasts, please let us know. I love pulling out the whiteboard, trying to draw things and talking through my thoughts, and would love to help maybe some of you guys talk through some of your thoughts as well. So if you guys have anything you want us to cover, let us know in the comments or shoot me a DM on Instagram, and we'll try to get a podcast to cover that. So until next time, we'll catch you guys later. Appreciate you tuning in.
Welcome to the chase where the champions dwell. To the grind, to the hustle, the pursuit of wealth. Every story, every journey, every climb from the shelf. Here's to the drive, to the fight, to pursue